With the release of the new iPad Pro, it's a bit confusing trying to decide what iPad to get. Hopefully, I can help you decide which iPad best suits your needs. Needs being the key word. Hey guys, it's Robsy back with Paperless X, a channel that is all about digital productivity. If you're new to my channel, hello. Don't forget to subscribe if you're looking for a solution to go paperless with your work, studies, or business. And if you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on your notifications so you know each time I release a new video. You have 4 possible iPads to choose from: the iPad Pro 2020, the iPad Air, the iPad 7, the iPad Mini 5. All these iPads support the Apple Pencil. The writing experience on all of them is exactly the same. At least in real life, everyday situations, you won't feel a huge difference, especially if you've got nothing to compare it to. There are videos on YouTube that compare the lag in writing between these iPads in slow motion. No one writes in slow motion. A millisecond lag is not going to ruin your handwriting experience on any of these devices. Apple does a great job creating devices that work. They are all great with handwriting because they are iPads with Apple Pencil support. The second point I want you to note before I get into the details of this video is that all these iPads run the same iPad OS. iPad OS is similar across all these devices. None of them stands out above others for 90% of professional work. If the iPad Pro 2020 can do it, so can the iPad Air, so can the iPad, and so can the iPad Mini. There are currently no Pro applications available for specifically the iPad Pros only. I managed to do all my video editing and photo editing on the iPad 2018 2 years ago. None of these iPads can be overlooked as non-Pro, at least for as long as there are no Pro applications on the market to differentiate the Pro iPads. So, who needs an iPad Pro? I would say architects, artists for drawing, engineers, anyone dealing with big canvases. If your work is better on a big screen, then you definitely need an iPad Pro 12.9 inch. I also recommend it for anyone taking notes without a secondary device. If you're a student, for example, without a laptop, then the bigger the screen you get, the better, because split view makes more sense. It is more practical on the big screen. The big screen of the iPad Pros is a really huge selling point if you want to be multitasking. If you find yourself wanting to use at least 2 applications at a time, then you definitely need an iPad Pro. The 12.9 inch will serve you very well. LiDAR is another great selling point for the iPad Pro, but I doubt it makes sense buying it now when there aren't any specific applications that are already using this technology. It's new, awesome, but honestly useless if all it has is potential, because Apple is starting to get into a habit of selling us devices or products on vague promises. They promised the iPad Pro 2018 could run Pro desktop applications, and we only received the first of those Pro apps, Adobe Photoshop, a year after the iPad Pro 2018's release, which was a few months before the release of the 2020 iPad Pro. Think about that for a second. Apple made us feel like Adobe Photoshop will only run on the iPad Pro 2018 because it was as powerful as most laptops. But when it got released decades later, the application was actually compatible with iPad Pros as far back as the 9.7 first generation iPad Pro. And now I question every new feature they release without current supporting applications, and you should too. Some people have argued in favor of the USB-C for the iPad Pros. USB-C or Lightning connector, you will still need to buy hubs for your device. So personally for me, this is not really an added advantage. My workflow doesn't need any hubs, and I've made sure that I don't buy any extra accessories for my iPads. I'm trying to keep my workflow and my devices as minimalist as possible. And I certainly have never felt like I'm missing out much without the USB-C. Apple is still releasing iPads and phones that have the Lightning connector, and there are a lot of hubs on the market that support that kind of connection. So I'm afraid for now the USB-C is not really a massive selling point for me personally. Apple just released an iPad with a minimum storage of 128 gigabytes. This means getting this memory on new devices is now a bad idea, especially if you're concerned about future-proofing your device. Since the iPad 7 has a maximum storage of 128, I am hesitant to recommend this iPad for any serious work or note-taking. But because of its price, it's the perfect iPad for children in primary and high school. It'll get the job done. They can do their work, write their notes, do their homework, and they can always upgrade it for something better for university. The iPad 7 is also great for most people that don't really do much. If all you want to do is read and reply emails, do some planning and some basic note-taking, maybe watch Netflix and listen to music, then this iPad will work just fine for you. The iPad Air 3 gives you the best value for your money of all the iPads available on the market at the moment. As of 2020, 256 is the minimum storage you should be getting for your iPad. I get a lot of people asking me if they should get 64GB iPads because they only want to use it for note-taking. You might buy your iPad today, right now, with note-taking in mind, but maybe next year you'll discover a new hobby. Then 64GB is not going to be enough anymore. Then you start crying, regretting you bought it, and then you want to upgrade it. Storage on your iPad is everything, especially because it is not expandable. The last iPad on the list is the iPad mini. In my opinion, the most expensive notepad in the world. I can't see it as a standalone device. You definitely need a bigger iPad or a laptop to go with it. If you prefer working on a laptop but need a desktop paperless notepad, then the iPad mini is perfect for you since iPhones don't support the Apple Pencil. But be warned, it's not that small, at least not for my tiny hands. It's not very portable. Then I have tiny hands, so maybe that's why it's a bit bigger for me. The iPad you choose determines which Apple Pencil you get since the Apple Pencils are not interchangeable. I don't think the Apple Pencil should be a determining factor when choosing an iPad. Both pencils work as far as note-taking is concerned, and that is really all that matters. I hope this video has helped you to decide which iPad best suits you, and I hope that you'll enjoy using your iPad. I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.